All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we want to welcome you to Focus on Liberia. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to all of you watching us here at Focus on Liberia. Of course, this is the hour of politics. My name is Anthony Sear, your usual host. In today's edition of our show, we are still looking at the CDC, and we are asking a question here. Can the CDC be resuscitated? Of course, the CDC, we all know, is completely bruised up politically. And some people might even argue economically the country is in trouble in the hands of the CDC. Recent elections result also shows that the CDC are actually in a big trouble here. And so there are others who are asking the question, can the CDC recalibrate? But in this show, we are asking whether the CDC needs to be resuscitated or can it even be resuscitated? Well, I have two gentlemen here, two politically sound individuals. They are all pundits. Mr. Jerome Gateman is here. He is the host of On Point here at Focus on Liberia. He is an apologist of the regime. He is a surrogate of the regime. And then we also have here Benjamin Kofa Fania, a presidential hopeful for 2023 presidential elections. Mr. Benjamin Kofa Fania is here, and we are trying to look at the CDC, whether or not this institution, this government, can be resuscitated and be able to do better. And so this is where you need to be. Welcome to the show. Do us that usual favor by hitting the share button for us. At this time, I will welcome my panelists in this discussion. Mr. Jaron Gateman, welcome to the Hour of Politics. I know we are in the season time. How you feeling? How's your family?
We're doing very well, and Merry Christmas to you, and hopefully a Happy New Year. The family is doing very well. Politically, we're not doing that well.
I can understand that, being a strong supporter of the regime and things are not going well for you, you have that feeling quite clearly in you. I understand.
I
Here
have a,
also,
before you go, I have a double whammy. As a Republican, I got a bruise here too. Locally, my boy Trump is in trouble. The CDC is we took a hit and we wobbled, but we are not down.
well, that is why we brought you here to find out whether, in your opinion, being a member of that institution, whether or not that institution can be resuscitated. Benjamin Kofafania is also in studio. Ben does not hide away from these issues of governance. He throws punches every now and then. He doesn't bite and blow. He gives it to you straight. He is here with his critical political eye to look at the CDC. He will give us answers whether this political institution can be resuscitated. Ben told me, Anthony, I will not economize with the truth. And it is the truth that I have come with. Ben, welcome to Focus on Liberia. I'm glad to have you. Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year, my friend.
Well, I want to say thank you, sir. I appreciate your forum. This is this is one of the best forum available right now because I really like the cordiality, the civility, even though sometimes we disagree, but we still dialogue. And I'm very happy to be here, and I'm also happy to be part of this discussion regarding an institution that I was once a key player of. So I'm very happy. I look forward to a fruitful dialogue with you and our other guest, Mr. Gilman. And I also look forward to a very healthy and fruitful interaction with the audience. I want to say thank you, and I am very happy to be here. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Benjamin Kofafania, and let me remind you, he is a presidential hopeful, comes 2023. But right now, we are here to talk about the government of the day. We're trying to hold that government accountable because we all should want that government to do well. And when it is not doing well as it's supposed to, it is our responsibility as well to hold it accountable for the benefit of our people. And so, gentlemen, let us not waste time. Let me do something here quickly for us. The word that we are using as our topic is resuscitate. I will place on the screen and then we will try to define the word and then I will come to you guys. Folks, in cyberspace, we have a definition of the word on the screen, resuscitate. It is a verb. It says here, revive, especially someone from unconsciousness or apparent death. Definition number two, to bring around, to revive, to bring back to life, to bring someone back to their senses, to bring back to consciousness. Definition number three, to make something or to make an idea or an enterprise active and vigorous again. And they have some synonyms: revive, restore, regenerate, revitalize, reinvigorate, renew, awaken, wake up, rejuvenate. Gentlemen, to stimulate, to reestablish. The words are many. Mr. Gidman, your political institution, from all indication, needs resuscitation. So my first question here is, given the election results and governance troubles that we are having as a country in the hands of the CDC, has the CDC reached its rock bottom? Mr. Gidman.
Well, in our local parlance, we say orphans, children whose parents died or children who are adopted. Orphans usually have no friends. Usually, if you have friends, when your parent died, everybody deserts you. People run. And these things do happen. And in politics, this is no exception. We love to win. When we are winning, it is easy. Like we have always said in politics, winning is the easier thing. Governing is the problem. Because when you are winning or you are on the campaign trail, you can say whatever you want to say. Nobody holds you accountable for anything. But when you become the leader, then we go from campaigning to governance. And this is where the tire meets the road. And at this point, the CDC did take a hit. And like I say, they are wobbling. They are dazed. But the good thing is that we were not knocked out like Mike Tyson would do to his opposition. So at this point, we have to admit that we did fight an opposition that is as strong, maybe, than we thought. And the people made it clear that the referee is in the middle. If you do not, like the referee say in a boxing match, you always have to protect yourself. Keep your hands to yourself. Always protect yourself. We have been given a second chance to protect ourselves. Like you say, to revive, to rejuvenate, bring us back to where we began and begin to refocus.
Thank you so very much. Ben, I like to call you Ben. You are aware of the election result. The elections didn't go down well for the party. As though that is not embarrassing enough, we have the governance troubles. More so that the CDC as a government is responsible for. The question I'm asking is, looking at these two instances or these two scenarios, has the CDC as a government reached a rock bottom?
Yes, thank you for that question. First and foremost, let me disagree with my esteemed brother, Mr. Gilman, he's not my friend, he's my brother. Let me disagree with him. Mr. Gilman termed the CDC in a idiom where he said, an orphan has no friend. I will not class the CDC as an orphan. Simply put, the CDC, if we can consider the last election, won literally over 60% of the vote. 60%. That is unheard of in most instances, and that is what you call a popular mandate. That is, there was groundswell of support. So I would say a little over the halfway mark, if the CDC is being badly beating, I mean, the CDC won literally 10% of the races that she entered. I would say it is a total vote of no confidence, and it is to a large extent based on the CDC's performance. You see, when people vote for you, there's a trade-off, there's a bargain, there's an expectation in terms of you performing. The CDC has performed miserably. You know, we shouldn't bite our words about this. The government needs to step up. And I would say this, I would be very surprised if the CDC can, as you say, resuscitate, or if the CDC can revitalize itself. Because one of the major things that I found out with this organization, I was part of it, I was a critical part of the CDC, is a lack of internal democracy. That is the major thing. What I'm saying to say that is alternate views are not tolerated. You don't have room for alternate voices. Dissent is not tolerated at all. So all in all, I think, like you said, I will agree with you, the CDC has hit rock bottom. And I can declare today, I do not see the CDC winning any future elections in Liberia. I do not see that. I don't see the potential because the governance style is one of total failure. Thank you.
And Ben, I'm not sure Mr. Gilman gonna agree with you. The CDC, you have a better understanding of what a protocol institution is. An institution that were able to mobilize youth across the country, young, old, everybody came to the fold. And this is the CDC today. 3 years later, we see having trouble. And are you saying that this CDC cannot do what it did before? Is that what you're saying? It's not possible. Then I'm talking to you.
Oh, yes, yes. I thought you were talking to Mr. Gilman. Yes, I am saying it's impossible because, people, you and myself, we learn, we act based on experience.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you this. You see, what is happening in Liberia now, it's not what the opposition is doing. It's what the CDC has done to herself. It's not what the opposition is doing. The CDC has failed to lead. I mean, I will just give one case.
Okay.
Say, for instance, we had a major incident in Liberia. This was over the top. 4 auditors died in a time span of less than a week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who killed them. I'm not apportioning blame, but what I'm saying is the government should have gone over and above to ensure that this case was resolved. Because look at what's happening. This is a small institution, and 4 people died within the space of a week. So the government had a responsibility to restore confidence in itself by properly investigating that case and holding people accountable. But as we speak today, that case have no head, no tail. So the government has failed to lead. They have failed to inspire confidence in the people. So people are gravitating towards other things because we will need options in terms of leadership.
All right. Mr. Gilman, you just
Yes.
listening to Ben saying the CDC does not have it. He said the CDC is not internally democratic, if I can paraphrase him. Dissent is not tolerated within the CDC as an institution. And on that basis, he's doubting that the CDC can be able to resuscitate itself, rejuvenate. Is that something you agree with?
Well, thank you for the question. I think my brother over there, for whom I have a lot of respect, understands that both of us understand politics to the core when it comes to the theory. I'm going to give you a quick example. I'm going to give you the 10 worst elections ever in the United States history when it comes to party losing power.
Right.
The most recent, let me talk about Barack Obama. He came into the House with this exuberance and this superstar power like George Weah. And sooner than later, he was able to lose both houses, the Senate and the lower house. I'm talking about 274 seats. He lost 12 Senate seats. He lost 34 out of 50 states, local, we talk about city, county, statewide, lost 34 out of 50, lost total control of the country. The Democrats were decimated, and everybody thought they were out for the count. But they recalibrated, went in-house, did the appropriation. They did everything they could. And let me give you another example. Recently, a very good friend of mine, somebody with whom I have worked, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, when she was the chair of the Democratic Party. There were internal wrangling. There was so much fight that she told us in Palm Beach, she is not going to reduce the Democratic Party to public disrepute. So what did she do? She did not want to fight the Sanders folks. She did not want to fight the Green Party folks within the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party is basically a coalition of ideals. So what did she do? Before the convention, she went and resigned to save the party. So what's happening in Liberia there is not unique. What we have to do, where I have to give you a disclaimer, I am not affiliated with the leadership. I don't know anybody in the leadership. I don't think they know me either. But we are lovers of what this guy is all about and the pro agenda, which I support. So for us to say that because of this particular hit that the CDC took, that they are not capable of winning any election in the future, to me, it would be politically considered a blasphemy
Mr.
to
Gidman,
say this.
Mr. Gidman,
Yes.
I just listened to you very attentively. You gave two instances about Barack Obama and the other
Debbie
lawmaker.
Wasserman Schultz.
Yeah,
Yes.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was head of the DNC, I believe, right?
That's correct.
And she had to resign to give other fresh minds to come in. And the Democratic Party did soul searching and was able to resuscitate itself
That's
following
correct.
those defeats.
That's
The
correct.
point here is that you said she resigned. Are you
Yes.
trying to insinuate that there's a need for some individuals within the party to resign so as to
Well,
bring some fresh legs in? And that is one of the ways maybe the party can get resuscitated?
well, I'm into management.
Okay,
Listen, it boils down to performance.
okay,
It boils down to the numbers.
okay.
I am calling for the chairman of the CDC to resign. Why? While I personally like him, and I think he means well, the number just doesn't speak to him staying on. Now let's look at, I like my boy Tue. I love everybody in the government, but we have to reassess, and if the number doesn't add up, these guys have to go. And let's look at finance. I love Tue, his approach. Why it may be good, the number just doesn't add up. Let's go to commerce. The number is not adding up. We brought in somebody at agriculture, And everybody from the opposition were cheering that she would come in and bring in a robust program, and that we will go on to mechanized farming, will be self-sufficient. It has not happened. So what I'm telling you here is we have to look internally and dismiss not few, a lot of who are not performing. We may like them personally, but the numbers just don't add up. That's what good managers do.
Ben, you just listening to Mr. Goodman then. What's your reaction?
Oh, I have serious reaction. Now, like I said, Mr. Gilman, most time when I call him, we usually spend like 2 hours on the phone. He's a good guy. We talk. But you see, at some point we have to face reality. Mr. Gilman made a very good example, and I'm sure, like you said you keenly listen to him. Mr. Gilman referenced Obama's loss. You see, that is a classic example, and you even make note of that. After Obama lost, right, the Democratic Party had the mechanism, had the structure to reset, to recalibrate. But we are talking about a political institution that have none of those frameworks. You see, what we are witnessing now, me and you, we are seeing individual actors going online. So, oh, let this minister resign. Let this minister resign. There is no strategy for moving forward. And that is what Mr. Gilman should acknowledge here. There are no mechanisms. There are no design. There are no frameworks to move this party from point A to point B. I can tell you this today. The chairman of this party will not resign. I can tell you categorically, he will not resign. So we have a total absence of the frameworks that would enable this party to restructure itself. That's why, based on those available factors, that's why I conclude that this party will not be able to reset itself, because the mechanisms are not there. They are totally absent. They are not. I mean, that's my reaction to what he said.
Ben, let me bring you to a point here. I wasn't there from the beginning. Like you said, you guys were the forefathers of this party. So are you telling me that this is a reflection on you as a leader, as a founding member of this organization? You didn't put together a foundation.
Mr. Gilman, that is I like this interaction. It's a good question. Mr. Gilman, if you ask for the history of the CDCs from 2009, since I joined, I have been labeled in the CDC as a rebel, simply because like you said, I have been a manager for major institutions in the United States since 2004. I mean, I'm talking about a salaried manager, a high top class. What I'm telling you is we put all these institutions into place. CDC has a grievance committee. We have an NEC committee. We have institutions, but those institutions, they are not being managed in a way where they perform their functions. They have not been managed like that. They have been politicized, and they literally don't function. All those, the CDC have every structure in place, but they are not functioning, my good brother. They are not. You and I, you talk about TWER. This is not the first time. I will tell you this. The day George Weah was inaugurated, let me tell you something. The day Weah was inaugurated, there was a call where there were some people suggesting that TWER should be finance minister. I came up on that call. I said, no, I don't think TWER should be finance minister. I say, I don't think he should be. They said, well, I don't think he's competent enough. Like you, I'm a manager. I hire people based on competence with the expectation that the job would be done. You see, we don't hire people because they are our friends. We hire people because there is a job to be done. Something needs to be accomplished. Where we are right now, I can tell you this, sir. I can tell you this, and I can tell our audience, where we are right now, it will take nearly a miracle to fix Liberia, not only the CDC, to fix Liberia, because tremendous amount of damages has been done to this country. The management is going, as we speak, sir, you and I, every year, I know whoever you lead, you manage their performance, you review their performance. There is no mechanism in Liberia to review the performance of ministers. I've been asking for that thing since 2009. I'm one of the few people in this organization. I was promoting the idea of a shadow government so that we can identify competent people, so that, I'm sure, in case we win an election, they will just slip in those roles. We have no mechanisms. How do we even know what those ministers are doing? How do we grade their performance? And how do we do that? We don't have that. And when we were proposing those things, there were people in the CDC on the other side say, oh, these guys love book business too much. It boils down to a question of management. And it's boiled down to a question of accountability, ensuring that we get results, because these people, we are paying them to do a job. The least we can expect is for them to do their job. But we're not holding them accountable. We are not holding people accountable in this government. We are not, and we must say it. We're not holding them accountable. People are doing whatever they want, and the country now is just slipping. By the time you and I get to the next vote, we might not have a Liberia left. We might not. So until we muster that strength to confront our friends with the truth, with all the realities, they won't change. I will not appeal to those guys to say, oh, this guy should be resigned. I would demand that the party chairman resign. I would demand that Troy be fired. I won't appeal for that, because the performance is showing that he's not competent enough to lead that job. So that's what we do.
I wouldn't use the word competent. I would say it is whatever policy that they have drafted is not effective, is not working. You could have a very competent person, a very competent coach that just not working out in the system in which he or he works, and that person needs to go. This is what I'm saying. As a manager,
Mr. Gidman,
yes.
Let me throw this there so you can continue with your point you're making. When you are appointed as a leader, if the system is not working, it is your primary role or responsibility to make it work. That's why you are put there anyway. So the idea that the system is not working and you are a leader and so you are a victim of that very system, it's almost like trying to give excuses for that leader, Mr. Gidman. I agree with you. It's a true statement. But that's what is required of a leader to do to fix the system. The CDC, like Ben said earlier, they needed to put their act together before coming. They knew that we had a system that had not been working. They fought so hard to get it. And now they have it. And the only excuses we can get is, oh, the system is bad, so nothing to I can do.
No,
why are you proposing? Why are you proposing should be done? Because if you fire 12, or if 12 is let go, somebody will come in. It's the very system. So what I'm saying here is that the person coming is the one who should make the system to work. That is your job.
Well, and I agree with you to some degree. When I became CEO in 1999, maybe before you were born, I was given a mandate to restructure a company and make sure that it worked. Okay, so what I did, I came up with a plan of action that were reasonable enough that the funders and people around me will buy into it. And then I had checkpoints, marks, short range, mid range, long range. And as I reached every point, I had to reevaluate to come here and double check and make sure whether I have made those marks. Where changes were necessary, I did those. So I am giving the president the benefit of the doubt that the first half of his administration, things have not worked as I have planned. One of the things that I have proposed to the government that I would like to see is happening. So I'm happy. My number one plan or my proposal, my dream, my appeal to the incoming administration at the time was, we cannot operate and run a country where we are separated by miles. The economy of the country would never come together if people in Grand Cru, in Southtown, in River G are going to the Ivory Coast, Guinea, to spend their money, our capital. So my dream, and I said this to Ellie, and I'm glad that George Weah, President Weah is doing it, is connecting our country by road connectivity. That is happening, and I'm glad it is happening. But like we say in America, you can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Mr. Gidman, let me interrupt you. It is happening as you are saying, assuming that you are saying what the truth is. And yet the party was more like rejected. Like Ben said, there was like a referendum on the party. Despite the little they've been able to do, people are walking away from the CDC. DeLong whipped them 2 times in Monserrato County. The first time with 30,000 votes. The second time with about 82,000, almost triple. the margin he won them with. So you see that people are backing away from the CDC. So there is
Yeah.
something missing. What
Well,
it
listen
is,
to, yeah. What? But let
yeah,
me tell you
quickly, I
this.
give you 1 minute because Ben want to come in. What is it that
Yes.
is missing that they
Yeah.
need to do?
In politics and when you look at movement around the world, for
Right.
those of us who have studied movement, studied politics, there's something called expectation management. Okay, you have to be able to manage expectation. Like Franklin Roosevelt used to say, "We are not promising a chicken in every pot, but we're going to do as much as we can to make sure that we service those areas that have the greatest needs." So he went ahead and organized something called the CCC. Okay, it's the Conservation Corps, the Civilian Conservation Corps, geared towards young unmarried men for 9 years. They just created job, massive job all over the country to help those people that brought them after the
Mr. Gilman,
George
that is
Weah
the
does
answer
not.
there. Excellent,
Huh?
excellent piece of information. I said that is the answer there. And the CDC found that answer. Like Ben will always emphasize, our problem has been implementation and enforcement of the law. You have your pro agenda, and you say you're going to create 1 million jobs, but you can't make it happen. Ben, come in here.
Yeah, you see, like I said, Mr. Gilmer is my brother, and he's I think he's a very moderate man, which I appreciate. But in Liberia, what they say, there's a line in Liberia. They say bad sore need bad medicine.
Yeah.
You see, for us to correct some of the problems that are occurring in Liberia now, we must have the fortitude to confront our brothers with the truth. You see, if we try to be moderate or try to bend over backward, they might misunderstand what we're saying. I can be point blank to anybody right now in Liberia. As it stands, the government has failed. I don't know if he is aware, but you see, I have the report in my hand here. The CDC literally lost seats. Senators under the CDC, they lost their seat due to the loss of popularity of the party. Mr. Gilman, as a manager, you and I, when we go to work every day, we have something called terms of reference. The terms of reference come with expectation of execution. I will tell you this, where I work, Mr. Gilman, I fire more people than every other person in my firm. I fire more people simply because I expect people to give me results. When I ask you to do a job, I make sure you are trained, I make sure you are competent, you have the requisite skill set to do that job. If you can't do that job, Mr. Gilman, I will tell you thank you, and you will be terminated. Because there is an expectation of performance and giving the company result. The same thing leads to running a country. We have ministers, Mr. Gilman, you and I can sit on this program today. We have ministers. They have no sense of direction. We don't even know what they're doing. We don't know what they're doing. And all of that reflects on the national leadership, on the government as a total entity. All of these things led to the government being unpopular.
And Ben,
the most important thing, Mr. Gilman, security. Look at what's going on in Liberia. Look at what is going on in Liberia. There's a pervasive sense of insecurity. We must hold somebody accountable. Somebody needs to be held accountable for that. But until we can tell our friends and confront them with the truth, we are going nowhere. We are going nowhere.
Ben, to your point, Ben, to your point of holding these people accountable, what is stopping that from happening? Is it the main fact that many people are appointed based on friendship or partisan, or it's just the main fact that the leader does not know that he has the power to fire when he needs to? What is stopping that from happening, Ben?
Yes, there are two things at play here. I mean, this is one. Mr. Gilmer is a manager, and he knows this. Probably you know this too. Anywhere you work in America, anywhere, even if you stand at Walmart door, you have a performance evaluation annually, anywhere you work, because your performance must be graded. Either you met expectations, you fell below, or you exceeded expectation. Your performance has to be graded. But in Liberia, we don't have a systemic structure whereby government appointees, their performance are measured. There's a total absence of that. So we don't grade people, and I mean, wherever you work in America, when you go apply for that job, it is mandatory on every form. They will ask you whether you know anybody that works in that company, because they try to fight against nepotism. It is on every employment form. They will say, do you know anybody that works here? Because if I know John Brown, he's my best friend, he will be lax in terms of enforcing the rules when he applies to me. All of those are safeguards in terms of ensuring that the entity function in a way that it is expected to.
Certainly.
We don't have that mechanism to hold minister accountable.
Well,
I can ask anybody here. Nobody knows the terms of reference of a superintendent. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what you do. You just appoint a guy, he goes there and get paid every month. We must have a performance metrics for these people. They must meet some kind of expectation that will benefit the citizens. But if we have none of that, I mean, how do we hold superintendents accountable? How do we do that? The guy is just there until, God knows how long he gets replaced. And the citizens benefit nothing. Nothing. Absolutely. And that has to change.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, folks, in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. This is the hour of politics here at Focus on Liberia. Yeah, I Focus on Liberia. We educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We are about responsible conversation here at this platform. And as you can see, this is what we are doing. Mr. Gitman, I asked Ben this question. It said the main fact that the lack of accountability on the part of these officials that judge we are appointed, and more so that we are himself does not know that it is a responsibility to hold them accountable, including firing them when they are not producing results? Or is it just the main fact that they were appointed on the basis of friendship anyway, so they have to just jolly at the detriment of the people? What is it that is stopping this very important management principle from being applied?
Well, we have to look at this thing realistically. First of all, there are different forms of management in government. Ben and I, we have worked in other areas, or more so in the private sector. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we work in areas that we call hybrid. It's private-public partnerships, so we know both ends of this. But one of the things that we need to look at in Liberia, let's look at the civil servant law that is there. That if Ben walked into an agency and walked in and say, well, these guys are now performing, I want to clean house. There are laws on the books that would deny you that privilege to just walk into an agency and fire anybody you want to fire, unless those that were appointed. Now, we have to also deal with that legislatively. Let's look at another segment that was introduced by the outgoing administration prior to President Weah.
Mr. Can you please answer my question? Don't give me this lecture.
No, I'm telling you, I'm bringing you around.
What is stopping the leadership of this government from holding people accountable who are not performing? Just give it to me.
I'm just bringing you to the fact some of the obstacles in the areas of where we're talking about cleaning house. Mm-hmm. Because if I came into my office and find out that the people in the cafeteria, transportation, all of these people are not working, I can walk in there and make changes, arbitrarily make changes as I feel. Mm-hmm. In government, you have to look at it from different speed. Now let's look at the appointees. Yes, those that were appointed by the president to carry out certain jobs. This is what I suggested to them, that we have maybe a group of people in the areas of quality control. These people should not just be quality control in an agency that is loyal to that minister. We are talking about an independent set of folks that goes from A to B to C to see who, like he's talking about, to do the metrics. Who is performing, who is not performing, and those people have to be let go. That's how it works. And say, even if we did that, we do not have the bullpen. We don't have the bench to go and replace these people, or there is no mechanism or conduit through which we can replace these people. And I don't want to believe that. I think the CDC has a deep bench. The president should be given a chance. He has time now. The president has the time now. This is where he, as a leader, as a manager, we are now all watching to see how he's going to redo this. But yes, this is the time for the president to recalibrate, to do the metrics performance, and tell our friends and brothers, those who are performing, I like you, but the performing grid says you are not just great for the task, and move on. His concern is, once you move these people, do we have a mechanism to bring in quality folks that will do even better? This is the question he's asking, and President Weah has to answer that question in the next 60 days.
All right, next 60 days we will see. But I got to ask you this, and starting with you, Ben, what can the CDC do now, administratively and politically, to turn this thing around, to resuscitate this party, because they have 3 years to go?
All right. Politics, as we know it, they have a time of leadership they call lame duck, where you are in power, but you really reflect no sense of authority, no sense of direction. You are not effective. I don't think. I hope and pray I'm wrong. I do not think the CDC has the capacity or what it takes to reset itself. I don't think so. Let me just give one example. Mr. Gilman and myself, it's good that we share the same work experience. Mr. Gilman is a manager. Mr. Gilman, I can tell you this. There's nowhere I have worked, even for me, it's unimaginable, where somebody would not take pay. Somebody would not take pay on time. For me, in my work life, my work experience, it's impossible. It's an impossibility. One of the major aim of a manager, of a leader, is payroll. Somebody's earnings has a lot of other people attached to it. We have a system in Liberia. This is not only for this administration, where people don't take pay on time. Sometimes when I ask this question, because for me it is impossible, there's a basics here with payroll. Every entity, your expense should always be less than your income. That's just a basic sense of it. It is impossible to have people working for us, leaving their homes, leaving their wives and children. They have their own responsibilities and they can't get paid on time. I don't know if it's just negligence, combined with incompetence. These things are impossible, Mr. Gilman. When I think about it, that people can't get paid on time. These are impossibilities. So looking at all of those things, I don't think this organization has the capacity. I don't think they have what it takes to revamp them. So I don't think maybe they can shock me, but personally, I don't think they have it. I don't think so.
Ben,
Mr. Gilman, same question. What can be done administratively and politically to resuscitate the political institution so that they can get to the finish line? That means they got 3 years to go.
Well, we all say this in politics. A month is eternity. We talk about 3 years here. 3 years is a long time in politics. It's a long time. Now, what Ben is talking about, and I just don't want to agree, as much as I like the guy, for us to say that the CDC does not have a reserve, we don't have a bench, we don't have a bullpen from which we can reach and say, hey, guys, come in. Let's say they reach out to him today and say, listen, can you come up with a plan of action, how to revamp this particular ministry? Or Mr. C, can you come and give me a plan of action? What do you see? What can we do within the next 3 years to do? I think we have that capability. Now, let me go right back to the paying on time and all of that. From the time, I have never worked in Liberia. I've never had a job in Liberia. I left Liberia when I was young, so I don't know the pay structure there. But I know for the fact when I was a child, okay, in the 70s, my parents, nobody got paid on time. In the 80s, nobody got paid. 90s, nobody got paid. So there has to be some fundamental structural defect in this government that needs to be redone. And that might take a Draco to come in town and say, this is what we're going to do. And this is, but when you're in a democratic society where people are elected to work along with the government, where you have no particular control over that person, these things happen. Second, if you live like me, my budget is set, okay? My budget is set October 1 through September 30. I have my budget for the whole year. I got the money there. I get money and I have reserve. So that happens. But when you are running a government where everything is based on projection, you do not have the money on hand. Everything you are saying, your budget, maybe 2/3 of your budget is based on handout, where you are producing nothing. The guy who promises you the money, if he gets sick and that money doesn't come in, you are done. That's what's happening here with this pandemic. A beggar country like ours, with money coming from abroad and it's not forthcoming, these things happen. So yes, we have to develop fundamental changes within our system that we have to hold our legislators accountable, that the money they are making, there is no way that the United States that gave money to Liberia, that the Liberian legislators make more money than the guy who is giving you the money. It makes no sense.
Let's focus on the CDC, how they can resuscitate this thing. And this brings me to the question, and I'll go to Ben while you prepare for that. Ben, we know, I believe the CDC has hit rock bottom. The economy is bad. It's in a free fall. It's been 3 years now. They've been trying to resuscitate this thing. This thing continues to deteriorate in their hands. Economically speaking, I know you said the CDC does not have it because of the internal wrangling and the inability to unify and all that. But what, in your opinion, can a CDC government do to turn the economy around so that they can get a political lifeline here? Because there are major problems. There are many problems, but their major problem now is the economy. They have not been able to make it work. What can they do?
Yeah, there's something in law. Mm-hmm. There's a phrase. Mm-hmm. They say you cannot give what you don't have.
Okay.
Yeah, they say you can't give what you don't have. So at the onset of this show, you encourage us, to be blunt, to say it like it is. Right. And based on the last 3 years, based on what I have seen with my eyes and what I have experienced, I hope I'm wrong. But based on what I have seen, my estimation is they do not have the wherewithal. They do not have that capacity. My brother, look online today. Let me just tell you something. Let me just go back.
Right.
When people lose an election, there are 6 critical steps you have to go through. Let me tell you, the first thing when you lose an election, the expert advise you to be calm after you lose an election. Then the leader should reassure their team, that is the individual who lost the election as well as the leader of the country, to reassure the team. Then you should limit your social media, output and input. That is what you put on Facebook or what you get from Facebook. The fourth one, seek professional help. That means you're going outside yourself.
Right.
Seek professional. The last one, you should take action. That is a critical part. That means it demands that you have a strategy for moving forward. We have seen none of that exhibited by this organization. None of that. I mean, zero is from the day this election was lost. It has been chaos up to today. The day you are talking, just complete chaos. So with all of these exhibitions, we have the pieces of evidence we need to conclude that these people will not be capable to redesign themselves to move forward.
Mr. Ben, let me disagree with you because I am part of a campaign here that just lost a major election, and you can see the case within the Republican Party. people are disagreeing with the president, even those who were with him from the beginning saying, go to court, do this, do that. We are seeing the internal wrangling. It happens, okay? Now, what we are saying here, you are talking about those things that you are talking about. I want to give the president and the administration the benefit of the doubt that all of those things you are talking about are going to happen. The president said within 60 days. So we agreed that within 60 days, they will do a complete assessment, an autopsy of what happened.
Mr. Gimmon,
Yes,
will you have
yes.
taken 60 days? Will you need 60 days after being in power for 3 years and you see
Somebody send
everything
an
just going
urgency.
downhill? Will you need
Send an
60
urgency. You
days
take the thing
to take
today.
action? Will you need
Listen,
60 days?
yes, yes. Because
why?
when we are talking about all of these things that he just pointed out, if you were going to bring in an outside consultant to come in and do your own evaluation, you can just get up and go. You have to do your own. You don't want to make the same mistake you have made in the past. Now you are going to begin a real vetting. You're going to vet these folks that are coming in. If we were to look for a replacement, I want to believe what they are doing in Monrovia now in the war room is now they are vetting people now to come in
Do they
to
even
do
have
some
a
of these
war room, Mr.
replacements.
Gimmon? Do these people
Yes.
even have a war room?
Well, you don't know whether they don't have it. So I want to believe they do because every political campaign has, and I want to believe they do because for the kind of structure they put together, the kind of campaign they have just run, there has to be some central nerve system that galvanized these folks to do what they did. Now, what we have to look at, and I'm looking keenly, if the dissemination of information and the decentralization of power from the chairman of the party, who has to go from city to city, from state to state, from county to county, for the people to know that the party is working. And another thing that I'm telling them to do is, I think the president used that word when he was campaigning in Bond County. He said, we have to build a political academy to bring our people from the different counties that are working,
The
capable,
president
and do
who
this.
is a football icon who cannot even be a single academy in Liberia. He
Oh,
talking
don't
about
say
political
that. Don't
academy.
say that because don't say that because
Let me,
don't
Mr.
say
Gimmon.
that because they just
Mr. Gimmon, may
unveiled
I
a
land?
beautiful academy
Mr.
in
Gimmon, I'm
Carisburg.
the
You saw that.
moderator. May I land? I will give you time, sir. I am
Yes.
saying this president is an icon of soccer, a legend, somebody that the world respects for his career in football. He could not even build a little field in Liberia for himself. And this is the man who has come to power, has not been able to build a men's stadium up to international standard in Liberia, and he's telling you you're going to build an academy for politics. Does he even think about one in football in the first place?
Listen, your mind is already made up, so it's impossible to change the mind of an opposition. I think last 2 weeks ago, you saw the unveiling of the beautiful academy in Carisburg. You saw that it's state of the art. Now, don't tell me as a media personnel you didn't see that. So, but that's not the point. The point here is when he said
that I saw those little tiny things, and if you
there
listen to
you
me
go.
just now,
There you go.
I'm not talking about. I mean, that what he did there is the same thing Robert Sally did in Nicrutan, and he lost the election.
No.
So, I mean,
See,
but
go ahead. Don't what we see the political strategy on the side of the liberal media or the biased media in Liberia is to minimize everything.
Are you calling focus on Liberia biased media?
Biased media, yes. You guys are opposition. I understand this, and no problem. We need you. We need you. But what I'm saying here is, for you to minimize, the man built a road in Maryland County, and the people are hailing him for what he has done, amidst all the financial difficulty they're going through. You guys say, yeah, he built a road, but the road is only 40 miles long. The man have built a road, he built a road from Nima to Grand Gila. You say it's overdue. What else can this man do?
CDC tactics, tell them about road, whether or not the people see the road. And we are having economic mess on our hands. You want to talk about market.
But let's
come in here. Go ahead, Ben.
Yes, Mr. Gilman again, my good brother. You know, after the show, probably we'll have a long talk. You see, Mr. Gilman, it is good. I mean, this show is good for me that he's a manager, like I said, all of my capacity I have worked in has been management. Let me tell you this, 60 days with what's happening in Liberia, any serious or competent manager will reject it. There's a principle they call sense of urgency. Currently we have a banking crisis, a financial crisis on our hand. When people go to banks, there's no money there, which is 60 days. No, we need remedial action now. While we have the long-term action, we can't have 60 days. We need something right now. Something needs to happen today as me and you speak. So if you know, I cannot praise George. We have to say, well, you gave me 2 months to look at this problem. No. For me to understand or for me to believe that this man is a leader, you have to give me something now. You have to inspire confidence. You have to lead. You have to exhibit sense of urgency regarding problems. You can't say 60 days. And the last thing I want to say, we will go through this thing. We will go through all of this. At the end of it, we will come out with the same old excuses. It brings me to my next point. The Liberian voters, the voters in Liberia, they need to change the way they look at elected.
Then hold that point on the voters. We'll come to that. I have a question on that. But let me come to something that you were saying earlier. Mr. Goodman, President Weah has no history of acting as a political leader in 60 days when something happened. It's been more than 60 days today from the time the auditors got killed. There has not been a single corporate arrested by our government. It's been more than 60 days since the boys, 3 boys got missing. There has not been an arrest of any individual. Mr. Goodman, do you want me to go on and on?
I want you to go on.
Mr. Goodman, there are reports amongst which the 25 million. Ben has been following this subject so long. That report is still on the deck of one more decade. It's been a year now. President Weah has not acted. How can I believe this president that he's going to act in 60 days? There's no sense of urgency in his DNA. Your response, sir.
Well, you see, when we talk about the biased media of which you are a part, I know you're the quarterback over there. You're pushing this narrative. You try to absorb the responsibility of this government.
They are little Trump tactic not going to work there. Label the media as fake news so that people can trust, and we are very trusted. Go ahead,
fake news. But this is what happened here. The government, this government as a whole, okay, encompasses 3 branches. I'm not seeing your leaders that you elected. I'm not seeing any hearing in the House or the Senate about the money, about the disappearances, about the deaths. So when we talk about leadership here, the election was just held. Out of the 30 senators in the House, in the Senate.
That's a different
no. I'm coming to this. And Ben has to agree with me here that the leadership of this country is not only in the executive. The legislature also have their responsibility of doing that.
Can the CDC government be resuscitated? That is
I'm just telling you, yes. The reason being, I just told you this, and my esteemed brother is saying 60 days is too long. And I'm saying to you, he would, if these guys went out and made decision hurriedly, you would be the same one to say it was not thorough. It was not thought through. The election was held a few days ago. We are talking about a complete autopsy. What the messages are from different counties. They are stakeholders we need to talk to. We need to look at the data. We need to look at the numbers. Somebody called me and told me that I think the voting percentage in the whole country was like between 32, 38%.
And
we want to know why.
We'll get to that. So hold on that.
Yes. So yes, this government can be resuscitated. In fact, I think you have to give them the 60 days. I'm giving it to them, and you and I may be back here, and I may be bashing it if they do not bring to me or to the Liberian public on an action plan, a reasonable action plan that can be executed and evaluated.
Thank you so very much, folks in cyberspace. Of course, you are watching Focus on Liberia. This is the Hour of Politics with me, Anthony CA, your host. I have in studio Mr. Jerome Gitman. He is a surrogate of the government. And I also have Benjamin Kofa Fanier, a 2023 presidential hopeful. And he is a straight shooter here when it comes to the CDC government because he wants something better for Liberia. Mr. Given to once, but he's dancing around it. And that's the one I don't like. So, folks, it's about time for you to get your calls coming in. The number is right on the screen there. That number is 605-313-6004. Don't forget to enter the pin there, in the code, sorry, which is 791403 and then pound. Then you will be given an opportunity to participate or ask a question. And so, folks, get your calls coming in, and we will take them. We have a caller. Caller, I will come to you right now. Let me take my caller, gentlemen. I have a very tough question for you guys. Let me see my first caller here. Caller, just give me a moment. I'm coming to you. All right, caller, your phone number ends in 5654. Your name and where you're joining us from. Then you will be given an opportunity to participate or ask a question. And so, folks, get your calls coming in. Please stop listening to it. Whoever is listening to it, stop. Caller, your name and where you're joining us from. Your phone number ends in 5654. All right.
You mean 5652, right? You mean 5652, not 52.
5652. 701 error code. Are you the one?
Yeah,
Please
I'm right.
go
Yeah.
straight into the issue. You have a minute. Thank you for joining us. Your name, where you're from?
I have a minute.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes.
my name is Clarence Fadi, and I call from somewhere in the U.S.
All right, Mr. Fale, I'll
I'm
give you 2
thankful
minutes.
to my friend
Quickly
Ben.
to the issue.
Okay, I'm thankful to my friend Ben and Mr. Gilman for their input. Except that I'm remiss of Ben to call for the removal of the chairman of the CDC because of our repudiation from this gun election. I think we can attribute the defeat of the party directly to the party chairman, who of course doesn't have any absolute authority to the proper function of the government. But from the inception, from the institution of our government, the CDC as a political party, the chairman Mobile Modu didn't have any direct role to play in determining who occupies what position and on what basis such qualification of a person to occupy the position should be determined. It was done outside the structure of the party. And I can understand how frustrated, like myself, Ben is that the CDC was massively defeated. But I must tell him that no political party, since the political history of the country, has ever instituted a very strong political structure, not even the Tory Party, not the Unity Party, NDP, not even the CDC. However, it cannot be business as usual. I think the massive defeat of the CDC can be attributed to an overall lack of performance by our officials who are not properly vetted by the party, while it is true that officials of government should not squarely and preeminently be decided by a political party because it is a leadership for the entire country. So the call for the resignation of the party chairman is unacceptable, is unfounded, because the party chairman does not have absolute authority over the functions of officials of government. The president, of course, should have the absolute and exclusive authority to determine performance of host officials, taking into consideration their respective measurable objectives. And this is the very first time ever in our political history, or since I've been following politics in Liberia, that budget submission will be done without the submission of measurable objectives from various government ministries and agencies. The recent measurable objectives from various government ministries and agencies are submitted is to determine whether land ministry and agency have made a follow up or have achieved on what they believe or what they promise to achieve for the overall goal for the country. But this never happens. So, of course, the president does not have the determination of the oversight to know which a government is performing or which official of government is performing and which one is not performing. 3 years.
Mr. Fale,
3 years.
Mr. Fale,
and I must tell
Mr.
you,
Fale,
yeah,
Mr. Fale, hold on.
yeah,
Mr. Fale, hold on.
yeah.
My question I'm asking, I like all the things you're talking about. Maybe you can come here as a guest, then we can talk more about that. But because of time,
Exactly
do you
so.
think,
Because
in
2
your
minutes,
opinion,
2
the
minutes not
CDC,
sufficient.
a political institution that you happen to be a member of, can resuscitate itself politically here? Do you think so?
With the same thing on board, it is somewhat difficult, if not impossible.
Okay.
I think we need a somewhat magical intervention to make sure we turn trends around.
Okay.
First of all, there are 4 pillars of our policy document. The
Mr. Fale, because of time, will not allow you to go in your payload. Let me ask you this other question. What is the history of any
okay.
political institution? Listen to me. What is the history of any political institution in Liberia suffering a massive defeat like this one, consistently on the threats of defeat, and coming back? Name me that party that did that in Liberia for us to believe that the CDC may be able to do so.
There's no history. Well, I still think that nothing is possible if the president is in his right frame of mind to make sure that his legacy is protected. But I can still tell you that if we continue with the same team on board, if we not follow what we're supposed to do, if our reliance on developing this country is some premise on agriculture, there's a tough time. As a matter of fact, we do not have 3 years. We have a technical 2 years to turn things around, and we have to be very much magical with the right frame of mind and mentality of people on board.
Thank you. I would like to have you so you can have more time, to talk about it. Thank you for your participation.
That makes video anytime.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen.
Yes, I would like to respond first because I think
you want to respond to.
Yeah, I would like to respond.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he misunderstood some of the initial points. It was Mr. Gaiman who was actually saying that he liked Mr. Molu, and he would somehow ask him to resign because the numbers are not adding up. So all I was saying is that what is happening, and I don't know if he didn't get me clear, this defeat of the CDC can be squarely attributed to non-performance by the government. That's what I was saying. Okay. It's just the government has not performed. The government has been dismal in terms of performance, and the leadership has been totally lacking in terms of holding government appointees accountable. Considering all of that, under the atmosphere of pervasive insecurity, nobody will vote for the government. Nobody will. Follow, you will not. You will not. So I didn't say that Mr. Gilman was the one saying that he liked Mr. Molu, but he would like for him to resign at some point. But my emphasis was the government is not performing. It's not. Thank you.
And Ben, I can't agree with you enough. I don't think Molu is the problem here. It's the economy that is failing in this government hands that's making the citizen to know that this government is not the government that they voted for. And that is why they're voting against it and turning away from it. It's not Molu. Let the economy work. You will see things that turn around. And you have to find the people that will make it work. And that is why the government does not want to do. It still want to do this French shit thing, and they're not going to work. Sam Gibson joining us from France. Mr. Gibson, I hope you are paying attention now. Quickly to the issue, Sam.
Yes, hello?
Yeah, go ahead, my friend.
Yes, hello?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Gibson.
Yeah, sorry, I got Max on my mouth. Maybe I won't be sounding too well, but anyway, I will try.
Yeah, it's better. Go ahead.
The issue of the CDC defeat result two different ways. One is the central government, and two is from the head of the party chairman. In any civilized society, I think the party chairman should have been resigning by now instead of somebody telling him to resign, because he has miserably failed. If you look at the Molba model chairperson of the CDC, beginning 2018 up to now, he has not done anything well for the party. CDC are lose nearly all of the elections. They are going to the by-elections. 2019, they don't first won senatorial elections, and there's massive defeat of the CDC. I think the strategy of the party chairman in upholding the party to win an elections is not working. So I believe he needs to step down. He didn't have to be told this.
What's about someone who is in charge of the economy? What's about President Weah, who should be holding the people accountable to perform?
This is where I'm coming.
Okay.
This is where I'm coming. Samuel Tuer, as a professional man, very brilliant. He knows that things are not well. A professional finance minister, civilized society will reasonably resign because things are not going well. The money in which the finance minister is leading the government or the country from 2018 to now, things are not doing well. Yes, donors are coming, people are giving money, but the strategy in meeting the economy itself, how revenue generations, the impact of those revenue on the lives of the people are not working. Thirdly, President Weah needs an effective and efficient commerce minister. Professor Wilson Tata is a brilliant man, but he did not do well when he was minister at the commerce ministry. He did not do well at all. He failed miserably. And I like what President Weah did.
President Weah charged for a commerce minister. We have Mawani Diggs there. You think she's not a good fit for this job? Are you saying that Wilson Tata failed, a man of experience, she cannot deliver that? Is that what you're saying?
Well, she just come in. I don't know the strategy she put in place. But for me, if she will have to retain the position, she needs to work out and put a very robust strategy that will be able to control prices on the Liberian market. If these things are not done, definitely, Liberia, the CDC government is going to fail miserably 2023. The Secretary General of the NPP was in the studio this morning. He acknowledged that the CDC had to do more work. Otherwise, it's going to be too late for us. Now, let's assume President we have 4 years term. 1 year has gone. He got 3 years. And he needs to step down. He needs to come up to make sure to replace some of those people. The Minister of Transport, he's still working. He needs to be replaced. And Samuel Tuer, with all the brilliance that he has, Samuel Tuer needs to give way to some other people. If you really like President Weah, if you really want for President Weah to go for second term, Samuel Tuer needs to make way.
Thank you. I think Samuel Tuer's brilliance is only in his mouth, his ability to turn little words around and sometimes big words around. That's all he has. That's what we have seen so far. My friend, Mr. Gidman, you may not agree with me. Mr. Gidman, I have to ask you the question and I'll go back to my callers here. And the question is there a future, and then you have to chip in on this one too, is there a future for CDC with or without President Joshua from now onward? Is there a future? You're on mute, Mr. Gidman. And callers, I'll come back to you quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, is there a future?
Yes, there is a future for CDC. And there are two reasons I'm saying this. CDC is a mass movement with sharp minds like you, like myself, every one of us at some point.
No, I am not there. I am not
there. No, listen to this. What I'm saying here, at some point, we have had some level of connection to the CDC. And what I'm hearing you and everybody else say, once these things are put in place and things are conducive for you all to come back, for us all to come back home, it will happen. So when you look at someone like Ben, looking at you, looking at myself, looking at everybody else, the future, it is there. It is a matter of fact that as long as we have a leadership that put in place a mechanism to reward competence, qualification, and fair play, CDC is the way to go. So we have all of those ingredients that are necessary to carry a party to the future. What we have to do is find a leader after George Weah to do what we are talking about. George Weah has done his part. Now we are on deck.
Are you writing President Weah off here politically, Mr. Gidman?
Excuse me?
Are you writing President Weah
off? No. It's like death. It's inevitable. He's going to retire. He's going to leave the leadership of the party. And I hope he doesn't want to become another Bromsky or another Salib or another Joseph Boycott. Once his term leaves, hopefully he will have an infrastructure in place that will carry his legacy forward.
All right. Thank you, Ben. Let me do this. Let me bring in the last three callers here. I come back to you, and then I'll read comments. Let me bring in this caller. Let me see. First come, first serve here with Dale Gibson. It will be this caller. Caller, I think your name is Robert. What is your full name? You are joining us here from Minnesota. Phone number ending in 8452. Quickly to the issue.
Okay, hello. This is Mr. Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, you are loud and clear. Straight into the issue,
Okay.
Robert.
Okay. I just want to first I want to say thanks for the program, and I'm listening. And I want to say what is taking place in Liberia is just not unique to the CDC, but I'll be specific and look at the CDC. And this is why we're discussing today. What I've come to realize in Liberia is that either the leader don't know the purpose of them being on the right head of the country, or those in which they appointed feel that they are only obligated to the leader and not the people. And also the political parties, they make it seem like it's all about the leader and it's right, it's not about the country. They are not focused on what needs to be done. What they focus on is pleasing the leader, because you will see that they all know, right, that things are not working in the country. But the moment the leader says something, even though it's not right, they will defend the leader. Right? And then, like I say, it's not just unique. Right, unique to President Weah, but we are discussing the CDC. With such a mindset, the country is not going to move forward until the leader understands the reason why he was voted for, until the ministers understand the reason why they were appointed, until the political party understand the needs to do what needs to be done to move the country forward. Our country will continue to remain the same, because we'll continue to change the leaders and those people who are supposed to be doing our job, even the legislatures who are supposed to be doing our job. All they focus on is how they will make the money and please the leader. Before I close, let me just say something. Today, we realize that everybody focusing on that is the law. They forget about Brennan Samuka, which is in Lofa. And the Lofian prepared to stand up and say, Mr. Samuka, we send you to represent us. We send you there because of us. Are they prepared to chastise him? Are the people in Montserrat prepared to chastise the law? Are the people in Bowling prepared to do the same? If they're done and they're only focusing on leader, my brother, my big brothers, right? I know you are my big brothers because I know the difference. I will tell you the truth, like, bro, continue to remain the same until we change our mindset. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Robert, I agree with you 100%, and thanks for calling. Gentlemen, let me bring in my final caller here, and I'll come back to you. Caller with phone number ending in 1787, joining us from New York. Your name and where your name, please.
My name is Jehudi Emmanuel A.F. Murray VII. You can call me Jehudi Ashman. I'm calling from Pennsylvania, United States.
Yeah, straightly. You have a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had 2 points to make here to Mr. Gilmer, and the last caller, not the one that definitely lied before one. Mr. Gilmer defends the George Weah road building structure is not only the defense for the administration. Liberia is a nation that had a blueprint, and that blueprint is part of that road structure or construction is part of the blueprint. Any president that comes to power have to do that same job. You know what's suffering Joe administration today? Joe was not prepared to lead a nation, and he had no strategy to lead. That's why all his ministers, from finance ministers to whatever minister he had, there is no work they are doing at all for the nation. Okay. Secondly, the guy that's the last caller who said Mubad Mudu should resign. Mubad Mudu had no problem of the whole situation of the governing structure. He's a party chairman. The structure he has is the party, not the nation. Jovia's failure is that he has no strategy at all that his minister will work on. That's what's suffering Jovia today. Jovia, the whole CDC government, they use popularity over leadership. That's what carrying on where we are today. Popularity is not a leadership. That's why we are facing this tough situation of the whole nation. That's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so very much, gentlemen. That will be our last caller, so I'm going to come to you guys here quickly. But before I do that, because of time, let me read comments here quickly. Let me read comments. This one is from Zakama. That's actor Zakama Jr. Many appointments in third world countries are predicated on political patronage and not qualifications. The chairman couldn't be on point there. This one is from Dward Dixon. That about 70, that about that, but about 70 payroll is some revisionist. Oh, I can't read that. I'm sorry. It's not well written. He comparing America again. Ben, go to Liberia, dear. I don't know. We're talking about that. Let me read the one from Hawa Mesga. She writes, yes, their war rock is Facebook. I think she meant their war room. That was when we were talking about war room. It's on Facebook. Hawaii again, all these centuries as a rich man until he became president. I think she's having conversation with somebody here. Let me read this one. Judy Ashmont writes, Roe is Liberia blueprint. Every president need to do it. We cannot take any credit on Roe. Well, I think he just called and said that. Hawaii again, see, I dislike childish conversation. Now the host is biased. Hawaii is going after you, Mr. Gilman. I'm asking good question. He said I'm biased. Let me see. Sam Waller writes, the hiring and performance processes for political appointees and private sector employees cannot be compared. It's apples and oranges. Political appointees serve at the will and pleasure of the president. Yeah, it's at the will and pleasure. If the president pressure is that they should not perform, Sam Waller, is that the point you're making? They are not performing. The numbers are there to tell. Hiring decisions are not based on basic qualifications of the job. Appointee can perform well and still be dismissed by the president without cause or explanation or have no recourse. I agree. In the private, but it would not be a good thing to do. In the private sector, jobs are posted, people apply and interview. Who told you that political appointee you can't be interviewed? Why you shouldn't be interviewed? You will come to that, Ben. Let me read a few comments here. The one is from Mayor Power. Gateman was on the right path to resolve the problem regarding salary. Why are Liberian legislators being paid more than those who are sending assistance to Liberia? That person is giving some little bit of coaching for our man, Mr. Gateman, when he pivoted to the legislature and leaving our topic. Mamata Son T-Man, that's Morris Man, he writes, Anthony C. It has been almost 2 years since we lost a professional Liberian that was working with the IRS in Minnesota with no arrest yet. Thank you for that. That doesn't mean that in Liberia we shouldn't have an arrest of individuals that carry on murder, my friend. Chairman Zakama again writes, as long as you stigmatize another diverse perspective, you are bound to be defensive. And that is what it is. Roslyn writes, great show with smart guys. Thank you, Roslyn, for the comment here. Jean S. Keller writes, the hosts don't even know anything about how government works. Hosts try to be honest and discuss the issue. Stop being hateful person. They are coming after me as viciously as some of them would do. That would not stop me from doing what I do here. Sam Waller again, Liberian democracy is too young. Mr. Sam Waller, I disagree with you 110%. Our democracy is not young. Judy K. Rambo may be coming in here to help Mr. Gaiman. That call, maybe she tried to say that caller, if you want, Chairman Molu is not going nowhere. All right. Judy Rambo is saying Chairman Molu is not going nowhere. Maybe because the audio that leaked from Chairman Molu is a good thing, so he shouldn't go anywhere. Hawaii again, I'm still waiting on Gaiman to tell us when he will be departing for Liberia to perform his managerial skills miracles. All right. Then the one from Sam Waller again. I read one for Sam Waller. Let me find somebody different. Somebody different. All right, gentlemen, I have to come back to you because of time. Ben, just your reaction to the viewers there and anything that you wanted to say, sir.
Yeah, I just have something brief. First thing I want to say thanks to all of the guys who tune into the show. We we really appreciate you guys. If you guys were not here, we wouldn't have had the kind of interaction that we're having. So thank you for being out there. There are a few things I want to touch on here. There was one of the guests who talked about the Minister of Commerce, in terms of how somebody didn't do their job. But there are some ground rules here. Before a minister is appointed, I think one of the major things is there's an assessment of his core competence, his skills. Whether he had the requisite skills to actually do the job. Then when we have confirmed that, we give that individual what we call a terms of reference. Mm-hmm. That is a guide in terms of our expectations, what we expect him to do. Mm-hmm. Then, based on that terms of reference, that's how we can review this minister performance, whether he's meeting expectation, whether he's falling below, or whether he's exceeding. So I don't want, there are some few people out there, let's fire this man, let's fire this minister. No, because the ministers were appointed with no clear expectations. So if anything, we should look at who were appointing these ministers, not the ministers themselves. Because when I appoint someone, there will be a clear terms of reference in terms of what my expectations are. Mm-hmm. So I will know how to hold this person accountable. Then there was one guy who called and talked about a strategy, and that person was so on point. That's the person I liked from all the guys who called. They were literally emphasizing that there was no clear-cut strategy in terms of moving ahead. And, they say when you fail to plan, you actually plan to fail. There must be a strategy, no matter what aspect of our lives, government, private, corporate, whatever. There must be a game plan. And that plan should be subject to review and adjustment based on the prevailing reality. Mm-hmm. So I think it is high time that even the CDC, as we are talking about them here, they do whatever it takes to put in a strategy in terms of moving forward. There must be a game plan. Mm-hmm. The last thing I want to talk about, someone talked about political appointees. Yeah. Yes, there are political appointees, but they are not in pivotal roles. There are some jobs within ministries, within private entities that are very important to the extent where we require people with the requisite competence. You don't just put anybody anywhere. They can't put me in a hospital to work. I will kill the patient. So there must be some kind of requisite competence to put people in certain key roles. So, even if the guy is my friend, he was part of my party or whatever, I have to make sure that there are some key sectors of the economy, of even the state apparatus, that I put people with the requisite competence. I want to say thank you to all the guests. This was a good interaction. I really love my friend, Mr. Gaiman. After this show, we're going to be on our long calls that we do as usual. But thanks to everybody. I really appreciate the interaction, and I hope to be back next time. Thank you.
Certainly, next time I will bring the two of you because we have to continue this conversation. Liberia is the only country we have. Some people will always remind us. And so, gentlemen, time is fast spent. But Mr. Gaiman, whatever you have to say, add this speed to it, because you are still an apologist of the government. You try to ram the opposition thing around the neck. So who benefit the most if the CDC remains down? The CPP or independent candidates like Benjamin Kofa-Fanel? Whatever you have to say something about that. You're on mute, sir.
I want to thank you for bringing me on. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm so hopeful about the future of Liberia. You see the young lady that you talk about, Hawa Meska? Mm-hmm. Hawa and I, we have always had some rough arguments. We have one thing in common to make Liberia better. She never gives up. She goes out and she keeps coming with ideas and what to do and all. And likewise, you and Ben and everybody else. Zakama, you're talking about now, former president of CDC USA. The former chairman, excuse me. We have all the brilliant minds that have one thing in common: Liberia. We love our country. So for someone to say that we should mutate, for us to actually no, we have the mind, we have the qualification, we have the love. All we have to do now is come back home, and we need a leader to make sure that that love is nurtured to the point where we have trust and faith in each other, that we hold each other accountable. We are in the trenches here. We have to depend on each other. We have to love each other and do that. Now, what people are talking about, the replacement of CDC with CPP and all, it doesn't matter. Those fundamental issues that are vexing Liberia, if those things are not dealt with, it doesn't matter who becomes president of Liberia. You will be just like the vice president said, it's our time to eat.
Thank you.
Now you talk about competence. When Ellen Sirleaf came to power, when she put forth her first cabinet, I was here clapping and saying, yeah, this is an A team. And what happens in 12 years? So it should not be just the degree, and those of us who got a lot of them, it should be more than that. And the vetting process is very key. When we are doing the vetting for those people who are technocrats, we should actually do the vet. I know they do, but there are some things that go on that I can tell that my brother is talking about. The point of reference to hold people to do that evaluation, quality control. We have to go from door to door to see what you have met your mark. And if those benchmarks are not met, you have to go. That's how management works. Whether it is you or me, if I went to work tomorrow and we have objectives and outcomes. When I was president of the ACLU, we did similar. When I was executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, my job was to go and bring investors into Florida. Every time I went, there were 3 questions I had to answer. Do you have the education system? Do you have public utilities, the roads, lights, and all of that? And the 4th thing was, do you have the workforce? Can Liberia answer either one of those questions in the affirmative? Does Liberia have the utility? Do you have light, water, all of those things for a company to invest? The question is no. Until those questions are answered, we are spinning our wheel. So I'm hopeful that Liberia has the manpower, and at some point we're all going to come together, irrespective of power, or parties and all of that, to see the best for Liberia.
So, gentlemen, we discussed a problem that we have at hand, for which whether or not it is possible that the CDC can be resuscitated. Now I'm going to do this for you. I am putting each of you in the presidency. Thank God Benjamin Kofa is running to be president. If you were in the position of president we are now, given all that we have on our hands, what will you do now? And each of you have 45 seconds to close with that. What will you do now? The economy is bad. We just had election that was so terrible for the government. People calling about, on the CDC to recalibrate. I am calling for the CDC to be resuscitated. Then, in 45 seconds, if you were president, we are now, what will you do to send out a message that you are prepared to lead?
I think the first thing I would do is a swift reconstitution of, the swift reconstitution of the economic management team.
Okay.
I will reconstitute them. Everybody who is on board right now, I will tell them, thank you for your service. What we anticipated didn't happen, so you guys need to leave. Then every minister in the government, I'm talking about from A to Z, every minister will be suspended indefinitely pending dismissal. Every minister from A to Z, every minister will be suspended for time indefinite pending dismissal. That is, I will carry on a massive head-hunting exercise to kind of seek competent replacement. And everybody that I would find out to replace those people, they will have a clear terms of reference that will be in line with my Propo agenda. We'll have expectations, we'll have benchmarks, and we will meet every 6 months to ascertain where we are. Those are the first 2 steps that's the first initial thing I would do. My economic management team would be immediately dismantled. Every minister suspended for time indefinite until they can be replaced. That's what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Benjamin Kofa there with his closing. Mr. Gibbon, same question. What will you do if you were President George Weah to send out the needed message given what we know election results and the economy?
I would do what former President of the United States, FDR, did. After World War II, the economy was decimated. He did something. He had a radio program called Fireside Chat, where he walked through the American people through the struggle and what it would take. And what he did was told them, we are going to massively create jobs through the public work projects, and I named few of them before. One of the things that is holding Liberia down is for me to carry my case directly to the Liberian people that we cannot spend 80% of our budget on recurrences. It cannot happen. We cannot pay our legislative body that kind of money and expect our folks who brought them to power to not even have drinking water.
Mr. Gilman, is that why you would do?
Yes.
To go after legislators?
Yes.
And you think that's going to be able to resuscitate your government?
Our folks, you're talking about radical change here. The Liberia, I don't care who you put in there, where you cannot develop Liberia with 20% of the budget. It cannot
that you can take. I mean, that which you're talking about have to go to the very legislature for you to get that change.
No, I'm taking my case. We have done that. It has not worked. I'm taking my case directly to the people. For radical change, we need to change the entire system. We have to say, even if it's a decree we're going to do, the government does not have the money to pay $200,000-$300,000 to each legislator for the next 9 years. The money is not there. It cannot happen. Liberians need to know that this is not going to happen. That's my case directly to the Liberian people.
Thank you, Mr. Gidman here. He is the host of On Point here, Focus on Liberia, and he is a surrogate of the CDC government. Folks, in cyberspace, we have come to the end of this broadcast. Thank you so very much for following us. Continue to also follow us on YouTube. We got information that most of you are not getting the notification from our YouTube channel whenever we upload our show. And so we are asking you to go back to YouTube and resubscribe to our channel so that when we upload any of our shows that you will get the notification. This is how we will end this broadcast. My name is Anthony Shea, and I brought you yet another edition of the Hour of Politics here at Focus on Liberia. Our closing song, as always, is We Are All Liberians. Enjoy the song, and bye-bye. Gentlemen, thank you. Excellent conversation. I will call on you, and we can do that over and over. Bye-bye, guys.
We are